We are back with a 4th of July edition of Bully Ball Podcast with Jason Aponte and Steph Sanchez. Steph, what's up? What's going on? Happy 4th.
Happy 4th or Joey Chestnut Day for those that observe.
Oh, we
Ready
talking
to see a
glizzies?
legend. We're talking- I'm ready to see a legend dominate.
And when we think about athletes at the top of their game, literally dominating, you think Michael Phelps, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson at a certain point. But Joey Chestnut never gets brought up. And I don't think that
Right.
people appreciate how incredible it is that he's able to eat that many hot dogs while it being incredibly gross. So here's the way that we're going to start this one. At a cookout, I prefer my hot dog a little bit more burnt, closer to the burnt side. It's probably the best way to eat it, right?
Like
Yeah,
how
a little
burnt?
burnt,
Like I feel
a
like I
little
need
burnt,
like a scale.
a little burnt, a
A
little
little.
burnt. It's got to have a little black on it, a little burnt. Got to be crispy.
Okay.
At what point is the hot dog threshold crossed into gross? Because for me, it's 2, 3 the most. After that, everything after that is gluttony and gross. What do you think, Steph?
Oh, like amount of hot dogs you would eat?
Yeah, like while you're eating at a cookout, right? Like I can have 2 or 3 good
Honestly, like
Sabrett
one.
ones.
Like I hate
One.
hot dogs. Personally,
Wow.
I could eat one. Like if it's like one of the only things at the cookout, like I'm gonna
Mhm,
eat it, But
mhm.
I'll probably just have one, unless it's like
Just one.
fire. Like if it's like a really good, like sausage, then I
That
might get to.
so
But
breaking news: Steph hates hot dogs. But and also I don't quantify Italian sausages or anything like that.
true.
As a hot dog.
Not really
So
a hot dog. Yeah, I'm not a
mhm.
big hot dog fan, and I'm with you. I think I would want it more on the crispy side, just because that gives it some of the flavor,
Mhm.
and I don't want any of the like, oh, I microwaved this, I boiled this flavor. I don't
And
like.
look, to be fair, coming from the place that originated dirty water dogs in New York, right? Like literally, you could
What is
walk up
that?
to a stand, they boil them, they're
Dirty water
fine,
dog?
but nothing like a good grilled hot dog that's like crispy and burnt. Yeah.
What is a dirty water dog though?
So in New York, when you're walking around anywhere, you'll see a stand that's like has a Sabret stand, and there's just a guy there, and he literally
Right.
just takes it out of the water and he pops it in there. It's fine, it works. But yeah, those pale in comparison to grilled hot dogs. So
Yes. Yes.
yes, yeah, no boiled hot dogs for Steph. That's what we learned. All right, well, thank you guys for
Missed you.
joining. Make sure you
We
go
missed
ahead.
you last week, Jay. Missed you.
It doesn't sound like you did. It sound like you guys had like a cracking episode, and you were
No,
like, "Man, it's so
I
good."
told Rob it wouldn't be the same without him.
Oh wow!
I'm
Well,
kidding,
well,
Rob.
well.
Love you, Rob.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in on this July 4th. Make sure you guys like this video on all 3 channels, subscribe to all 3 channels, and make sure you subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. Steph, we're getting closer to training camp time, and
Mm.
plans are being made for the joint practices as well too, Steph. So you better get in the loop, man. You better get in the loop
Hey,
because
I already got
7
my
a.m.
ticket to the league.
practices, 7 a.m. practices in Las Vegas, James Richard Garoppolo, and then the day is ours after noon. Like the day is ours for that entire time that we're there. I'm not staying for the game, by the way.
We getting
Um,
goofy.
yeah, new boot goofing for the initiated. But yeah, there's not so much to talk about right now, right? There's guys just doing press tours. I think it was important that we highlight that George Kittle and DeForest Buckner won the Beer Olympics with Bussin' with the Boys. I think that's something that we should really talk about. Shout out to you, DeForest. You're still a 49er at heart. Just realize that, you're only going to win when you're paired up with a 49er. The Colts thing, just forget that. That's done. Like, it's over. I'm sorry. And I know that wasn't your decision, but I guess we should start with, you know what? Let's start with the gossip first. So there was a quote that came out on Pro Football Talk, and it's from former 49er legend Richie James, who, while he was here, flashed a little bit at times, and then moved on to the New York Giants, and actually last year carved out a nice little role with the New York Giants.
Yeah.
So much so that he signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And he has some interesting things to say about Andy Reid and his offense. And you know what? I know we don't do the clickbait stuff, whatever it is, but you know what? I think it's kind of fun to talk about this because then we can compare it to a coach as well too. But he said that he's loving everything. Hold on, let me get this closer. He said that he's loving everything, the opportunity, and he has in front of him. Playing for Reed is at the top of that list. It's very similar offenses, talking about the Giants and what the Chiefs do, and you got the smartest and greatest head coach you can possibly ask for. Steph, I'll start with this. Why does Richie James hate Kyle Shanahan?
Look, man, I don't think this quote is any, knock on Kyle. And I don't think you can really argue with what Richie James is saying. I mean, Andy Reid has won 2 Super Bowls with the Chiefs. And I mean, he is one of the best, head coaches that we have, one of the best offensive play callers that we have in the NFL right now. Probably on the list of all time as well. So it doesn't bother me that he's saying this. I don't think it's a knock on Kyle Shanahan. I don't even think Richie James was thinking about Kyle when he said this. I definitely still think that Kyle is up there. But let's face it, he hasn't won Super Bowls, and that's always going to be the knock on Kyle until he does it, right? You're not going to be in that conversation of one of the greatest of all time as far as play callers go, unless you win the dance. You know what I mean? So, I don't take any offense by it. It's just the truth of it's our reality right now.
And it's just funny to hear that he's already the smartest and greatest head coach, and you just had an OTAs with him. Yeah, that's all you've had. But I do want to point out some things for people that when they point out Andy Reid and they're like, look at him and he's won. Yeah, well, he has Patrick Mahomes. Kind of helps your play calling a little bit, right? Like when you call a play and Patrick Mahomes is able to save you and throw the ball down the field. Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan have very similar paths before they find their guy. The one thing that Andy Reid did and has continued to do better than Kyle Shanahan is evaluate the quarterback position and be able to understand how to put. But also, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill's running past everyone. That personnel matters. I don't think anybody ever doubted Andy Reid's scheme in Philadelphia. I mean, Donovan McNabb put up his best years. Those years, they made 4 straight NFC title games. Largely, the knock on Andy Reid, stop me if you've heard this before, can't get it done in the big game, not good with time management, play calling is suspect in certain spots. I just think it's funny how quickly the narrative has shifted because you get the ring. And this is literally what will happen to Kyle Shanahan once this happens, right?
Yeah, that's all it is.
And one thing I want to point out, what the Chiefs did in the Super Bowl was exactly what the 49ers were going to do to them with motion, especially in the second half. The Eagles were terrible against motion, bottom of the league. And they obliterated them to the point where when they ran motion with Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, they had no idea where the ball was, and boom, wide open guys. Literally, that's what Kyle was about to do if he was able to have a quarterback who can throw the football the entire game. And Andy Reid figured that out. Look, Richie James means no harm to Kyle Shanahan by saying this at all. He's just excited. I spoke to Jerick McKinnon at the Super Bowl. He was praising him through the roof. You know why? He scored 9 receiving touchdowns. Jerick McKinnon basically was a cog in this offense, and he was having some of his best time with Andy Reid. Andy Reid's a great coach. Andy Reid's a great coach. Let's not. And I think that there's only 5 coaches in the NFL that I would replace Kyle Shanahan with. Everybody else, not a chance. Those guys are Andy Reid, Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, and I'm losing the 5th one. So maybe just 4 for now. I'm sure I'm missing somebody off the top of my head. But I didn't really take too much from this. But I do think it's funny that Kyle and Andy have had similar paths right now. And they understand defenses in a similar way because the Eagles what they did to the Eagles in the Super Bowl was exactly what Kyle was about to do to them in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, and You said it. They do have very similar paths, and I do think eventually, and I've said it before, like Kyle is going to get his ring, eventually. And when that time comes, he is going to be in that conversation right there with Andy. But it took Andy a while, right? Like he's a lot older than Kyle is right now. He's been doing it a lot longer than Kyle has, so all that plays a part too. You got to go through your lumps and bruises and your losses, and we know Andy Reid does have those, but it wasn't until he won those rings that all of that got absolved pretty much. And now you're talking about him being one of the greatest ever. And like you said, it helps to have Patrick Mahomes, right? You're not doing a ring around the rosy before you snap the ball, unless Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback. Let's just say that. But Kyle, I'm not making any excuse for Kyle either, and I'm not dogging on him either. He has a great cast on this roster. Like, this roster is built great. But yes, the only thing that's been missing is the quarterback position. So hopefully that gets figured out, right?
And to Steph's point, personnel helps a lot, man. Tyreek Hill is outrunning guys. But again, what Andy did was take chances on raw prospects. You took a chance on Patrick Mahomes, who people were afraid of being raw. He sat for a year, and now look at the fruits of your labor. Tyreek Hill had like 10 catches in college. You just bet on his speed, and now he's one of the best in the league, and it helps. So again, it's just for someone who is so gifted offensively, play designing, on defense, what Kyle does so well is he knows your defensive rules, and he plays to the defensive rules that and uses them against you. Meaning, I am going to put this person in conflict so they go back to what they have to do, but it's going to be to my advantage because this player is going to spring open because of those things. All of that can be true, but for somebody who is so good at so many things, rallying the team, winning games, building rosters, offensively creating offense, the quarterback position continues to be the one thing that he cannot get right. And in this league, when you don't get that right, that's what holds you back. So that's the difference between Andy Reid right now and Kyle Shanahan, is that Andy Reid took a chance on Patrick Mahomes, got it done, and now look, every year AFC Championship, every year Super Bowl, whatever it is. But that's kind of leads us into our next topic. And David Lombardi wrote a great article on The Athletic about the spending for each position for the 49ers and where they rank in the NFL. So Trey Lance doesn't really cost much. Sam Darnold doesn't cost much. Brock Purdy doesn't cost anything. He's not even one of the top 52 cap hits on this team. But as of right now, the 49ers have spent, and this is a little surprising to me, $16.3 million in money is number 14 in the NFL. And I have to feel like that's only because Trey Lance was the number 3 overall pick. Mm-hmm. Because if they had it their way, and this was maybe a year or two ahead, this number would be even lower. And then you look around, number 5, obviously $15.3 million. That's a lot of Christian McCaffrey money right there. Number 24, $22 million. That's all Deebo Samuel. Brandon Ayuk hasn't been paid yet. Jawan Jennings still makes under $1 million per year. Ray McLeod, same thing, very small. Tight end, number 1, 23.6. George Kittle makes a lot of money. Offensive line, number 17, 43.9. Well, they didn't sign Mike McGlinchey, and that's a lot of Trent Williams. Everybody else is on basic deals, basically, or rookie deals in some way. And this makes perfect sense. Defensive line, number 1. And they haven't even signed Nick Bosa yet. So that number is going to skyrocket. Javon Hargrave, Eric Armstead, both of those guys make big money. Linebacker number 19, 23.3. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. That's it pretty much at this point. And Fred already got paid. Dre hasn't been paid yet. They extended him, and that is a cheap deal, that extension. They did it right before on the heels of him breaking out basically this year. DB's 23.1. That's all Charvarius Ward. Diamond Lenore, Ambry Thomas, Isaiah Oliver, all of those guys, Darrell Luter, all of them are just either on regular deals or they're on rookie deals. And then special teams, $5.5 million, number 21. That's all Mitch Wisnowski at this point, right? Like, because Jake doesn't even make anything. But, Steph, I'm going to ask you this. The 49ers are doing something that is unconventional, meaning they're trying to win a Super Bowl without paying a quarterback, a high-end quarterback. how sustainable is this idea that they can go against the grain when there are 4 or 5 guys, 4 or 5 real elite guys? Everybody wants an elite guy. I love that. Oh, I want an elite guy. Yeah, well, so do 25, 26 other teams, because that's the definition of elite, that there's only a few of them. They're not growing on trees. But the 49ers are definitely trying to do something that is against the grain and unconventional, wouldn't you say?
I think any time that a team has the opportunity, or the opportunity falls on their lap where they have a rookie quarterback, and that rookie quarterback ends up, being pretty freaking good. I think all of them kind of look to take advantage of that and look to build elsewhere, right? Because like, oh, I got a cheap quarterback room, or I don't have to spend a lot on a quarterback. Let's build elsewhere. Let's get all these free agents and let's sign these big deals. And so I think that's what the 49ers are doing. So, yeah, it is unconventional because a lot of teams spend on, veteran guys for the most part. And eventually, you got to pay your dues, right? Eventually, you got to pay those rookies who end up becoming vets. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's smart on their behalf. It makes sense that they want to go the cheaper route. And DL being number one on their spending, that's not possible unless like the quarterback room is as cheap as it is, right?
100%.
So I think it makes sense. I think they see how important, and they've known this, how important the trenches are, especially like you saw like the Eagles last season, who offensive line and defensive line just dominated all season, right? And they spent a lot.
Except for the Super Bowl. Oh, where, Steph? They played on a wet field. We'll talk about that right after this. Go for it.
Oh, will we? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, like, so obviously, like, the trenches are important. They see Brock Purdy as a guy who can win them games. He wins games like a veteran. Like, he just has that poise that a veteran already has. But he costs less than $1 million, like around $800K or something like that. So yeah, like you look at the number that was like, I think 14 million or something like that. That is mostly Trey Lance, who is at about 9 million, I believe. So, I mean, yeah, let's build elsewhere. Let's bring these deals. Nick Bosa, by the way, you're saying that number was going to skyrocket. It might actually go down. This year,
that's a good point.
If you think about it, because the way that they stagger the years on the contract.
Good point.
It'll probably go up, but this year will probably go lower. So who knows? We've been talking about, the 49ers have like, 10 million in cap space. They got money they could spend. Like, they might get a little more extra money after the Bosa deal, right? So who knows? Maybe they could bring someone in after that. We'll see after camp and whatnot, or they can bring it into next year. But I feel like the 49ers are in a good spot, in terms of roster construction and in terms of their money. I don't feel like they're in a spot where they got to cut players, or they're not like the Saints were, like a year ago. They're not like where the Rams were, a year or two ago. So I think they're in a good spot, and they're going to continue to play it smart. So it is unconventional, but I think it works for them right now.
Absolutely. And I did a podcast for Buffalo Rumblings. Shout out to Jay Spence the King. Rob, Jay Spence says what's up, and he misses you and everything. And the sentiment from when you speak to either other content creators or other fans is you have everything but the quarterback. And God help all of you if the 49ers figure out the quarterback position long term, because Kyle Shanahan's offense evolves every year. Just when you think, they're going to start stopping that and you can stop the run. Why hasn't that ever happened? Why is it that the offense can pretty much get what they want as long as the offense plays on schedule, as long as the quarterback delivers the ball, right? You have this abundance of playmakers. That's the sentiment around the league is God help everyone if the 49ers figure out this quarterback position, and don't let them get a guy. But then that all comes back to, I love Kyle. Can evaluate the position. What you want and what is needed to win a Super Bowl might be two different things, might be two very different things. Operating the offense is one thing. Having someone lift your offense is a whole other thing. And I don't know if Kyle has been able to separate that right now from he thought that's what he was doing with Trey Lance. And as quickly as he realized that this is going to take more time than he thought is as quickly as you see all this. Plus, it doesn't help that Brock Purdy was incredible when he played. So the spending makes sense roster-wise all the way through. The one thing that's a little concerning is offensive line and how much you pay, right? Like, I understand Banks and Burford are essentially rookies and second-year players. That's okay. They're on their rookie deals. Jake Brendel's cheap, and Colton McKivitz is cheap. Trent Williams is the man, but would it really behoove you maybe to like take one contract from another position and maybe put it into offensive line instead? That's the thing. And then you have to remember the options that are available. You can't just say, hey, there's a guy available and he plays a position we need. Just because he's available, let's pay him. I don't think you can do that, right, either. So there are a set of circumstances I think that we're kind of overlooking when it comes to that. But the offensive line being number 17 and Mike McGlinchey just went and got a bag, for the Denver Broncos, it feels like if there was any place other for you to spend, it would be offensive line. That's where I would send the money. I don't know if that's you.
I do agree with that. I would like them to be, I guess, bigger spenders in the offensive line market. But at the same time, like, that market is so, how should I say it? Like, average players or slightly above average players get paid, get big contracts. And I just don't see the 49ers willing to do that. And I don't even know if I'd be comfortable doing that. Let's see, like, let's just toss a question out there. Would you guys have wanted Mike McGlinchey back if it meant paying him as much as the Broncos are paying him right now? Exactly. So that's like the struggle, right? There's not a good balance there for offensive line. When good guys become available, they get paid enormously. And so I think you'd have to do something similar to how you acquired like Trent Williams, where, you get him, via trade, and then you're able to negotiate a contract however you want with him, versus like in free agency when you're competing with like a whole bunch of other teams and you gotta, keep raising the price and whatnot. Also think that the way that their scheme works is they're able to get players who cost maybe a little bit less. You think of your Jake Brendels, your Colton McKivitz. Well, Colton McKivitz, they drafted him, but just players of the past that they've brought in. I'm thinking depth pieces as well, who they can bring in and basically coach up to play better than their contract, essentially. So I think they know they can do that. So I don't think they feel that spending that offensive line is a huge need. But at the same time, they were doing that for a few years with the running back position, right? Before they eventually said, oh, hell, like we need like an elite dude. Let's go get Christian McCaffrey, right? So at some point, you wonder if they'll get tired of just like, scrapping at the offensive line and maybe go the more elite route. Granted, they do have Trent Williams, so that is pretty elite in my book, but it'd be nice if they had another guy. It's the best.
Yeah.
But, it'd be nice if they had another guy, at least like if their tackle was also right tackle was also elite, right? Which, I don't know what Colton McKivitz is going to look like, but I have a feeling he's not going to be, top 10 or anything. So, who knows? Maybe they'll eventually get tired of it and allocate some money into the offensive line. But I get it. Right now, I do get it. Just because the market is so gross. Like, I would not be willing to pay some of these guys top dollar.
Right. Like, I heard a lot of sentiment like, oh, I want the guy from the Falcons, McGarry. And I'm like, well, did you guys watch him play? He's actually poor in pass blocking. He's good in run blocking. It's like you're literally talking about replacing him with like the same kind of type of player that McGlinchey was. That's the funniest part about watching people. Well, I want McGarry. Okay, well, do you realize like what he is? So I just think that's funny. But again, I do think that the offensive line is limited to who's available in the draft. See, this is kind of where I'm at with it too. Blake Freeland's available at a certain pick, and I'm not going to talk about what pick he was available at. Blake Freeland's there, and he's a guy who literally clones like Mike McGlinchey, and the offense ran pretty fine with that as well too, right? Like in terms of running the ball and all those things. And who knows, if he took that step that we all hope Mike would in pass pro, look at where you got him and look at what you would possibly have to pay him for the beginning. So the real way to build is through the draft. Offensive line throughout the years, like when there's a free agent, it's more based on, well, he's just been healthy. And we just need a guy who's going to stand upright for 16, 17 games. The premier guys don't hit free agent market. Like that just does not happen. If you have a guy that is a high-end guy, they're going to get locked in. So the 49ers have kind of built this team with the offensive line that fits their scheme, like you said, and also is cost efficient. And it's just, again, it's a fascinating way to look at the way the 49ers have built this roster, because everyone agrees all they are missing is just that high-end quarterback. And if they do get that, it's over for everybody else because of where they are. Even if there are the injury issues throughout the year, they have enough depth 1 through 53. There's going to be guys that get cut from this 53-man roster that are good football players that are going to end up playing somewhere else immediately. You ever wonder why a 49ers player gets cut and automatically someone signs them and automatically they get something out of them? The 49ers have an eye for talent. They just haven't been able to get the most important position down. All right, Steph, it's time to cook. You brought it up. Today is the 4th of July. The Super Bowl was February something. The Eagles will not stop crying about what happened in the Super Bowl because of unfortunate circumstances. But you know what? The 49ers got to be quiet about that. Can I talk real quick? Can I talk my shit real quick?
Go, Cook.
The Kansas City Chiefs played on that same exact field, bud. It's not like when you were on the field, they had that field and you're slipping and sliding all over the place. And then when they got on the field, they put their field down and the Chiefs had an advantage. No. What happened was your defense got beat by the offensive line. And when they did, it exposed your secondary because they're not good against motion. Kyle Shanahan wanted to do that. Brandon Graham, I like you a lot, man. You were really nice to me at the Super Bowl. Answer my question. You're a really good guy. Blessed? You played on the same field as them. Now let's take it back. The NFC Championship game. Well, they got to let it go. I don't want to hear it that their quarterback was injured. Things happen. Tell that to yourself, Eagles. Now who's crying? You. All of you. Look how quickly those turntables turn. And look at you. Look at you. Unbelievable. Look how quickly that happens. So the 49ers, who lost a quarterback, and they were frustrated about it because they had a game plan that was going to score on you, they can't say anything about that outcome. Now, I agree. The 49ers talked about it way too long. But I also will say that while we were at the Super Bowl, every single 49er that had a mic shoved in their face was asked about the NFC Championship game. So what were they supposed to say? Were they supposed to say, oh, we thought we were going to lose? No. They were frustrated and they felt like they were robbed of an opportunity. But you Philadelphia Eagles, look at you. Look at you now. All of a sudden now, oh, no, the field, and oh, we got robbed of an opportunity. How funny is that? Cry more, and we'll see you in December again. We need our lick back. Don't cry anymore, though. I don't want to hear anything more about the Super Bowl. It's over. You had your chance. You scored how many points? Jalen Hurts had a great game. By the way, Jason Kelsey, I know that's your man. Jalen Hurts put up the best Super Bowl performance ever. Steve Young exists, pal. Grow up. Tired of the Eagles, man. They're really making me mad now. I never thought that they would become a rival, but they're literally doing the things that they were chastising the 49ers for doing, and they're still talking about it on July 4th. Go to a barbecue, get ready for camp, suck it up. It's over. You lost, just like you told the 49ers. I'm done.
It's true, though. Like, every time that, like, a team loses, like, their fans are going to be upset, players are going to be upset. That's just, like, a natural reaction. And then when it's time for the opposing team to lose because, you know, like the Eagles did, they're like, oh, wow, you guys were complaining, all this. All their fans, too, were saying the exact same stuff. You guys still crying about it. Justice was served. Let's just say that. Because, you know, karma's a bitch. Bleep it out, Rob. We gotta do that like at least once an episode, you know.
Right. Once an episode. It's a running joke for sure. 100%.
Bleep it out, Rob Quota. But yeah, so I don't pay attention to anything like the Eagles say these days. But yeah, I'm glad that justice was served, and I'm glad they're still talking about it because you know what hurts more than losing an NFC Championship game?
Talk to him.
Losing a Super Bowl. And
Oh,
we didn't know about that. So
damn. Well, I think it shifts the blame from the fact that Andy Reid cooked in that second half. He realized that he can get you with the motion to the point that they ran the same play in the red zone 2 and 3 times, and you had no idea how to stop it. And you guys were confused, looking around at each other. That has nothing to do with the field. What does that have to do with the field that Sky Moore was wide open and scored a touchdown in the Super Bowl? I mean, it's
hilarious.
Look. Stop talking about us. Worry about yourself. And all those things you said about the 49ers and the 49ers players and their fans, look at you now. Ooh, I can't wait for that game. That game has way more juice now because it's funny to me how the turntables turn. Philadelphia Eagles fans and players, quiet down. Go to your barbecues. Get ready for training camp. Enough. You lost. You lost the game. All right. So this is the last segment we'll probably do, right? So I wrote an article on Niners Nation about the odds for 49ers players and season awards. So that's MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Let me just tell you this. The 49ers have no chance of winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sorry, Jake Moody. Not going to happen. Okay. So we could probably just jump right over that one. We could jump right over Offensive Rookie of the Year. We could jump right over that one. But MVP is a quarterback award, Steph. And I just wanted to talk about, and now remember, these odds are as of the 31st of August. They're subject to change based on injuries. They're subject to change based on, on team building and whether they'll be ready to go. So Patrick Mahomes is plus 700. He leads the pack. Plus 750 is Joe Burrow. Plus 800 is Josh Allen. Plus 1100 is Jalen Hurts. Now, when we start to look down the list, it's still all quarterbacks. Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Tua, and Justin Fields, Dak Prescott are all tied at plus 2,000. Deshaun Watson's right after plus 3,000. Geno Smith, plus 3,500. Jared Goff, plus 3,500. Brock Purdy is the highest 49er odd, plus 4,500. But you know who's right behind him for MVP? It's funny, Steph.
Who?
Plus 5,000, Trey Lance, Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Jordan Love. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, that's interesting. Trey Lance, first of all. I guess they still have no idea who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers. I don't. There's no chance that a 49ers quarterback wins MVP this season.
No chance that a 49er wins an MVP, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, but Kirk Cousins should be higher, maybe potentially. That's
plus
interesting.
3,500 Russell.
Trey Lance, man, even higher than Mac Jones, even higher than Jimmy Garoppolo.
All right, so Jimmy Garoppolo plus 8,000.
Dude.
Christian McCaffrey's the only non-quarterback to be ahead of anybody at plus 8,000, and he's tied with James Richard Garoppolo. What's up, buddy? We can't escape you, huh?
That's deserved, though. Christian McCaffrey. If there's any non-QB who would win the award,
yes,
it could be Christian McCaffrey.
For sure.
He's so good in a full season in this offense.
So plus 15,000, Devontae Adams, Aaron Donald, CJ Stroud, and hold on to your hats, people, Blaine Gabbert, plus 1,500, plus 15,000.
That's coming
Blaine Gabbert, because I guess they don't think that Baker Mayfield is going to start over there in Tampa.
Who is spending their money on this?
Look, if you put money down on Blaine Gabbert to win MVP, you're a sick individual. Yeah, call that number. Call that 1-800-GAMBLING number. Have an intervention. Make sure somebody gets to your house and takes care of you. But look, in all honesty, this is a quarterback award. And a quarterback's going to win it. And that makes sense, right? That's why there's Offensive Player of the Year. Now let's move on to that. Offensive Player of the Year, and it's changed because there was one person ahead of the other. It's tied in the beginning with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson at plus 1,000, but Christian McCaffrey's plus 1,300. Steph, what does Christian McCaffrey have to do to win Offensive Player of the Year?
Honestly, like I think if he does what he did last season to finish the season for a full season, for one, he has to stay healthy, right? I think that's going to be huge because we know if he is going to be healthy, he is just naturally going to put up numbers. So I think being healthy is the key for Christian McCaffrey. And as long as he does that and he plays in these games, he's going to be in that conversation all season long. And he absolutely is going to deserve it. And I think Christian McCaffrey probably has the edge over Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson just for the fact that he's a multifaceted player. You know, he can receive, he can run. Like he could probably get 1,000 and 1,000 receiving and rushing this season. Mm-hmm. It's in the realm of possibility. If he does that, give him the award. I mean, I love Chase and Jefferson. They're great players in their own right. But McCaffrey, for what he does, I think it's just very unique. And I think that deserves an MVP award.
And I forgot to ask, what is your prediction for MVP?
What do you mean? Who I think will win? McCaffrey.
No. This is Offensive Player of the Year for MVP.
MVP.
It was Mahomes,
probably
Burrow.
Patrick Mahomes.
Probably
Mahomes.
I actually got Joe Burrow this year. I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be going to the Super Bowl this year. So I've got Joe Burrow at plus 750. I like that.
I like that because we need new blood, man. We need new blood. As good as the Chiefs are, it's like
this is Joe's year. I think now they really put it together.
I like the Bengals a lot.
Yeah. All right. So for the Offensive Player of the Year, I don't disagree with anything that you said in terms of Christian McCaffrey. My only concern is I don't believe he's going to play 17 games. Now, whether that means he plays 15 or 16, I'm fairly certain, and if there was a bet for this, is that Christian McCaffrey would miss a game this year. Who I'm going to put my money on for Offensive Player of the Year is Justin Jefferson for a few reasons. One, Adam Thielen's gone. Now they add Jordan Addison, right? There's going to be some extra targets. Kevin O'Connell wants to throw the football. Remember, I talked to him at the combine and I asked him, like, hey, can you throw the ball like 38 times to Justin Jefferson? He was like, not going to happen, pal. Like, literally what he told me. He was like, you can't do that. But there'll be more targets for Justin Jefferson. He has a chance to score more touchdowns than last year. I think he only has 6. That's really low for him. I think we should see 10 and up. He has the most yards of anybody in their age 23 year contract year. By the way, he's about to be the highest paid receiver in the history of the game when it's time for his contract. So I'm going to take Justin Jefferson here. And it's only because I think that Christian McCaffrey is going to be injured 1 or 2 games. And Justin Jefferson is so important to them. Dalvin Cook's no longer there. Can Alexander Mattison be Dalvin Cook because Alexander Mattison has shown it 1 or 2 games? I don't know if that's true. So they're going to throw the ball more. And I do think that there's a little bit more for him to achieve and a little bit more upside right there with him. So I'm going to say Justin Jefferson. But the only real question about Christian McCaffrey is his health. That's it. If Christian McCaffrey plays 17 and Brock Purdy plays and the offense looks like it did at the end of the year, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to get away from him just because of all the touchdowns and everything as well, too. But he kind of has to prove that last year wasn't the exception and is more the rule now going forward. So that's the only part that has me hesitant. If I had to put money down today, it's going to be on Justin Jefferson.
Makes sense.
All right. Defensive Player of the Year. Now, I want to go full homer here because I got a bone to pick. Micah Parsons plus 650, Myles Garrett plus 750, TJ Watt plus 850, Nick Bosa, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, plus 1,200. What are we doing here? Now, I will say this. All 3 of those guys are great players. And you have to remember, Myles Garrett and TJ Watt got injured last year. So that really just made it Parsons and Bosa going back and forth. So they're back in the fold. So I think this is obviously thinking that they're going to play 17 games. Both of them are great players, by the way. But damn, the Defensive Player of the Year that just won, plus 1,200, you're number 4? What are we doing here?
That's nasty work. Why? It's crazy because, like, as good as Nick Bosa is, and yeah, he does get national media attention, I still feel like he's disrespected. Like,
Easily.
Yeah, like it's so weird. Like everyone always talks about Micah Parsons, like TJ Watt. Thankfully, well, okay, no, okay, scratch that. It was if TJ Watt was healthy last season, like he would probably really get DPOY consideration as well. Maybe even take the award. Also, a beloved player in the NFL. So I don't know, like both of those two players, I feel like get talked about more than Nick Bosa when Nick Bosa's like he's at the tippity top, right? I mean, and to your point, these players are great as well, but I don't know. You said it like reigning DPOY. How is he not higher on this list? Like, what are we missing? What are they?
Well, again, Myles Garrett's back, so is TJ Watt. They're great players, man. Like TJ
Yeah,
Watt,
but
like
it's like
record in his eyes, but it
why
does
why
feel
can't Nick
weird.
Bosa at least get like equal odds to like
Right,
I don't know Miles Garrett at
right,
least? You know.
right. I agree. So to kind of wrap up, the rest of the way, defensive player of the year, I still got Nick Bosa winning it. I don't care. I'm going full homer on this one. I think Nick Bosa wins it back to back. Screw it. If I'm going to go homer, I'm going to go homer on this one. That's my prediction for this one.
Honestly, I think not because I don't actually think Nick Bosa will have a great season and maybe statistically better, but I think TJ Watt just because the NFL loves him.
Oh, wow. Steph predicting a big game for TJ Watt in week 1. You hate to see it. All right. Offensive Rookie of the Year. I told you we can gloss over this. This is Bijan Robinson's award. You'd be silly to put money on anybody else, and no 49er has a chance to win this award. Defensive Rookie of the Year, this is a little bit tougher, but I did want to point out just this one thing. Jair Brown was the highest 49er drafted, and he's not listed. The only 49er that's listed for the Defensive Player of the Year is D. Winters at plus 10,000. Do they know something we don't know?
Why? That's so weird. Like I was gonna say, like, yeah, of course he's not listed. He was drafted like in the 3rd round, but like D Winters was drafted in like the 5th. What is going on? That's so weird to me.
And then comeback player of the year is kind of interesting, but this is the DeMar Hamlin award. DeMar Hamlin, all he has to do is take one step on the field. This award is his. In fact, petition the NFL to change it from comeback player of the year to the DeMar Hamlin award. DeMar Hamlin's got this, and the odds are minus 500. That's how good of a chance that everybody's giving it. All he literally has to do is get on the field. Now, for people that just want to laugh real quick, because we press for time. Jimmy Garoppolo plus 3,000, Trey Lance plus 3,500. Brock Purdy's not listed at all, Steph. Not even listed.
That's wild. No, these are crazy. What are we doing looking at these?
It's good conversation. John Michie also is recovering from cancer. That's a really good one, plus 3,000. That's another good one as well, too. But this is DeMar Hamlin's award. But Brock Purdy's not listed at all. And Sam Darnold has better odds to win the DeMar Hamlin award because he's coming back from sucking, just like Russell Wilson does. Russell Wilson's right there on this thing here too. Foster Moreau is coming back from beating cancer as well too. It's in remission. Like that's the thing. It's like comeback player of the year. Russell Wilson sucked last year. So did Derek Carr. So did Matthew Stafford was injured. Sam Darnold was trash last year, except for the end. It's like, dude,
they did the same
injury
thing.
Or comeback play. You're not coming back from injury. You're coming back from being garbage.
Didn't they do the same thing the year that God, what's his name? The Titans quarterback.
Ryan Tannehill.
Tannehill. He won it.
Yeah. Over Jimmy.
He wasn't. Yeah. He didn't come back from any injury, right? It was just
he came back from Adam Gase.
Yeah, exactly. I was so pissed that year because if there was any year that Jimmy Garoppolo deserved that award, it was that year.
Yep. And then coach of the year, Dan Campbell, Sean Payton, Matt Eberflus, Arthur Smith are leading. This all makes sense. Everybody's going to be picking the Lions to win that division right now. That's a sexy pick. Sean Payton has a chance to turn around Denver and obviously is a great coach. That's a really good pick. If Justin Fields takes another leap, Matt Eberflus is going to look like a great coach because they're going to win more games. And if the Falcons make the playoffs, Arthur Smith's going to look good. I think all four of those are really good chances to win. Kyle Shanahan's at plus 3,000 with John Harbaugh and Sean McVay. Whatever, man. I don't want to. I mean, the John Harbaugh thing I understand, but come on, man. Sean McVay, what are we doing here? But I'm going to tell you my pick, And this isn't exactly Homer, but it is Homer. Give me Mike McDaniel at plus 2,000, man. I think if Tua is upright for the whole year, they're going to score points, but their whole defense, the only other defense that's better than them in the AFC East is the New York Jets. They have a stacked defense, not only just Jalen Ramsey, but you're talking about Jalen Phillips and all those guys on the defensive line. The Miami Dolphins are going to win a bunch of games. Give me Coach Mike plus 2,000. Shout out to Coach Mike. We still love you, buddy.
For that money, I do like that one a lot. I think even Tomlin can sneak up in there too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, as well too. All right, guys. 4th of July, we don't want to keep you for too long. Make sure you guys go out there, have a good time, spend time with your family, go to barbecues, eat hot dogs, even though Steph hates them. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe to all of our channels, Steph's channels at Steph49K, mine, Jason Aponte, the Gold Standard Podcast Network on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the Gold Standard Podcast Network wherever you get your audio podcasts. GSN Podcast on Twitter, GSN 49ers on Instagram as well too. So for Steph or Jay, enjoy your 4th of July, but we're out of here.
Peace.